Welcome to Bake to the Future. The wholesale baking industry mixes tradition and innovation to feed the world and the economy, generating some major dough while employing nearly 800,000 people in the U.S. We bring you a fresh take on the latest trends and issues impacting the baking sector through exclusive insights and conversations. Brought to you by the American Bakers Association, who will take you Bake to the Future.
Hi everyone, welcome to Bake to the Future. I'm Haley Blumenreich.
And I'm Katie Jewell.
And today we're going Bake to the Future with Paula Marshall, CEO of Bama Companies. They're based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they have worldwide facilities which run 2 million biscuits a day, along with handheld pies, buns, pie shells, and pizza crusts.
And we're excited today to hear her perspective on the coronavirus pandemic. Welcome, Paula.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing all right. Doing all right. Where are you joining us from today?
I live in Tulsa. Our company is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were founded here by my parents in 1936.
And are you joining, like we've heard from other folks we've had on these special episodes around the coronavirus, they're joining us from bathrooms, from offices, from bedrooms. I'm joining from a closet. It sounds like you might not be, it's hard to tell where you're joining from physically.
Well, a few years ago, I built an office in my home. And so I have a office right off my bedroom that has, outlets for my computers and phones and all that kind of stuff. So I have a nice little office here.
Very good. Well, that sounds comfortable. We wanted to have you on the show. You and I caught up a few weeks ago to talk about how your business is going. I think that we've heard a lot of stories about bakers selling products flying off the shelves. You know, there's no flour to be seen. The baking, the bread and cookies and crackers are just hustling out the door. But that's not necessarily the case for all of our members. And I know that you and I talked, and your company is facing some very unprecedented times.
Yes. Well, we primarily deal with the top chains in quick service restaurant industry. So my clients are McDonald's Corporation globally, Yum Brands globally, Walmart, local QSR chains and convenience store chains like Quick Trip and 7-Eleven. And those folks have found themselves in a very shocking and immediate situation that happened in March, where other than my Walmart biscuit business, almost all of our other clients experienced an immediate, just almost like going off of a cliff. So we went from a gangbuster year, record year, providing all these great products to all these great companies, to down 50%, down 60%, down 70%. And we have been battling through March with furloughs. Our company started out at about 1,000 team members. And as of to date, we've furloughed about 25% of our organization. So it's been very devastating trying to figure out where do we land after and during and while this is all going on. Because we've got dining rooms that closed, we've got people doing pickup at the curb, we've got still numbers going through the roof at McDonald's, but they're different day parts. So I provide a lot of products for the breakfast day part. And in my organization, we've seen 70% drops in breakfast. Now that is starting to come back. But if you think about your own patterns at home and what you're doing, people are getting up a little later. They're letting their kids get online. They're getting calls at home. They're doing work on their computers at home. And they're not going out for breakfast right now. So it's not a hurry up, get the kids off. And then the kids are going to eat breakfast at school. And the parents are going to go by McDonald's and get a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. They're staying home, and so that's why I think we've seen the huge drop off in the QSR business and in the convenience stores. Quite frankly, is most everyone now is eating breakfast at home. They're eating it a little cheaper. and they're going out later in the day. So we've come back from those 70% drops the first couple of weeks that this was happening, and all the shock that people were going through. And now we're beginning to see some lift because I think things are getting ready to start kind of normalizing again. Some of the states are starting to open up, restaurants with precautions. They're talking about, going back to your office, getting tested to make sure you have the antibodies. And I, like a lot of other people that travel internationally, because we have plants. We do have some plants in China. However, I hadn't been there for over a year, and we have plants in Europe. And so all of our European plants were closed. But that being said, we were flying a lot during the fall of last year and during the first part of this year. And anybody who had the flu in, November through February might have already had it. So I think that's why a lot of people are kind of going, why are we shutting all this stuff down? But I do think there's a movement to get people back and get people back into a routine again. And I think that we're starting to see our breakfast business come back now because of that.
Well, what you were saying too about that shock is something that you had mentioned to me a few weeks ago. Was you had shut down some of the lines, your plant was not running.
Right. We had a 2-week furlough in which everyone was told to go home and work from home that could work from home. We then did the 250 person furlough. And at the same time, we shut down every facility, and there was no one allowed in any of the buildings.
And what I think is crazy with that, right? You were saying that your company was founded, in the middle of the Great Depression, right? So, and for that to happen, that was the first time something like that has happened. I just think that that's just a crazy fact.
It is a crazy fact. And I think, there's a thought around that. Did we overreact? Was it too much? Did we not need to do all that? And we're not going to look back, in the mirror, because it's always going to be something could have been done differently or better. But I will say that I do think people are going to have this imprinted on their brain, and there's going to be more dealing with it once we start opening things up. I think people are going to continue to wear masks. People are going to do the scrubbing of the hands, which is perfect, should have been going on anyway, and wearing rubber gloves and things like that to go in and eat your meal and all that. I think eventually that's going to go away or reduce. But for now, I think the next year or two, we're going to have a lot of changed behaviors.
Right. And I think that something that we've been hearing is that people are consuming the same amount of baked goods, but just in different ways. So I think that's what you were touching on, that people might be eating, their breakfast sandwich still, but they're eating it at home, buying it from a grocery store rather than going out and getting it from a restaurant.
Right. And that's why if you see the sort of the dichotomy in the baking industry, you see those of us who deal primarily with quick service restaurants. Some of us have a little bit of retail business like me, and some have mostly QSR, and some people have all retail and don't do any QSR. So you see those companies doing a lot better because, there was the run on the grocery store. There were the people doing, buying out all the toilet paper in the world or all the paper towels or disinfectant or whatever the first 2 weeks, which I thought was really weird. And then it's like, suddenly someone realized, well, I guess we're going to be stuck at home for a while. We better go buy food. And so while most of the retail bakers might have seen a short little downward turn the first week or two, I think they've seen just huge increases as people go to the store, and then they stockpile all this stuff from the store that they really can't use, and bread's going to go moldy. And, if you don't have enough freezer space, you can't really, buy that much bread or buy that much food. But I think what's happening now is people are starting to normalize their retail food purchases, and they're going out some too. So I think we're seeing the sort of the rebound effect in people that I deal with, the McDonald's and the Pizza Hut for sure. Pizza Hut's business has rebounded incredibly in the last 30 days. And that's because pizza is a food that has been historically delivered to your home. And so I think that's starting to affect the QSRs that have delivery. Those that were forward thinking and put delivery in are doing much better than those that didn't.
Yeah, it's kind of a story about technology to some degree, and some companies have already been set up with that technological capability. So when something like this happens, they can use it and be able to deliver things and get things to families.
Right. Well, you look at Starbucks model, for example. Starbucks is a company that has a lot of baked goods and they sell a lot of baked goods, but their sales are down 40-50% because they don't have an effective way to do anything but invite you into the store to come in there and stand while they, make your drinks. So because people can't go in there, they've done some, you can text them with the order and they'll have it sitting out there and you can pick it up type of thing. But for the most part, they weren't even staffed for that. They weren't staffed to take people outside and take the meals outside and go stand around and wait for you to get there. So they're not doing very well. And you would have thought that they're a company that has a lot of, resources to think about things like this. But their model has worked so well for so long that they just don't have an effective way of dealing with it until they get to reopen, and then I think they'll have a much better ability to deal with it at that point.
And speaking of reopening, you mentioned earlier you do have plants in different parts of the world. And I know that you've spent more time at your facilities in, I believe, Poland and the UK. What's
Yes.
going on there with your company and with the QSR and what you know of what's happening?
Well, it's interesting because the Polish government, because they are very bullish and they have been doing a lot of business, development and things. And so the labor force there was really tight. So we've been before this all happened, we were having trouble getting team members. But when this outbreak started occurring so close to them in northern Italy, they took the approach of they just shut the whole country down. The government did. And every week, I get a payroll deposit slip put into my bank account from the government that comes directly into my company. And so I haven't furloughed one person over there because they are paying me every week to pay the people. And I get a direct deposit payroll check. It's just unbelievable. So I think they're doing that all over the country. I don't know how they did it so fast or how they reacted so quickly, but they did it almost like within the second week of the shutdown, because in Poland, they shut everything down. In one day, it's like, boom, everything got shut down. It wasn't in waves. It wasn't in cycles. And so everyone just stopped going anywhere. But all the companies were told to keep paying your people, and here's the money. And irregardless if you need it or not, you're to keep these people on the payroll. So I found that interesting. In the UK, not so much. They were very slow, much slower than we were to close things. In fact, they might have only April 1st maybe started closing things. And when they closed things, they also closed all restaurants, bars, pubs, everything like that. And that has caused unbelievable turmoil for McDonald's because there's no pickup, there's no delivery. So we sell McDonald's, Yum, and Subway in the UK. And they've all been shut down, every single one of them. Pizza Hut can't even deliver right now. So there's different countries that have taken different approaches, but they're also starting to talk about opening the UK up next week also. So everyone did it a little differently. And at first, the Brits, until actually Boris got the COVID-19 and went into the hospital, their prime minister, they weren't shutting anything down. And I think when he got it, everybody was like, whoa, we better turn off the spigots here. And they did. And so, but they've been down a much shorter time than anyone else has. And they'll reopen faster as well because their government is providing very little coverage for these small businesses.
I think that's really interesting, especially coming from your perspective as a global company. Since this is a global pandemic, it's interesting to hear your experience across all these different countries. And so switching gears a little bit, I was curious about your company during this time because I know that you have made a lot of great intentional decisions to create a company culture, to establish yourself as a B Corp, and really having a mission to help others. So could you tell us about how you've been trying to incorporate this mission of helping others during a hard time in the U.S.?
Yeah, well, we have a caring center. Of course, it's not open right now, but one of the offshoots of our caring center is we co-founded an organization along with a gentleman who lives in Tulsa who's a very famous rock singer called Taylor Hanson of the Hanson Brothers. And he and I have founded this organization called Food on the Move. So we have been using our team members that are furloughed, that have a desire to volunteer, to pick up meals, to deliver them to different sites in the city, different places where there's no food, a food desert, or there's apartment complexes where people have no food and no way to get out, or nursing homes and things like that. So every day for the past 3 weeks, we have delivered approximately anywhere from 6,000 to 12,000 meals every day.
Every day?
Every day. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
wait, let's do the math on that really quick. 6,000 to 8,000. No. 6,000 to 8,000 meals for how many days so far?
We've done it for 3 weeks in a row. Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and some of them get delivered by new people every time. So we have to, we've had a lot of policies and practices in place to make sure people are safe and they put their gloves on and their masks and everything. They stay the 6 feet. But we have so many Bama outreach, we call them the Bama outreach teams, that come every day and help us deliver these meals. And so our team members are staying connected to us through these food deliveries. We're working with all kinds of agencies in town and food banks and everything to get the food. And we're working with some kitchens in town to cook the food where possible. We actually have cooked food in the bags as well. So it's a big operation. It's really great. We have a guy named Kevin Harper who runs it for us. And eventually we will open a community garden. We'll have our own community garden where people can go and work in the gardens, and we'll actually offer the food for free and offer people to come and work in the garden so they can actually learn how the food gets processed and how it gets grown and where it comes from. And we'll have a whole laboratory and science area and training center and education center around that. And when we get ready to have our grand opening, I will make sure that Rob Mackey gets invited and you guys can come down and take a look and see what we're doing. It's kind of amazing to see what we've been able to do in a couple of short years.
Wow, that sounds incredible, especially to be able to help others during this time. It sounds like it's a great initiative to do that.
It's been wonderful to have this go up and going, and it wasn't nearly as big, obviously, as it is now. It was, we were doing 2,000, 1,000 meals 3 times a week, and we geared up to do this every day. We won't probably keep it going when the things start opening back up, but we'll always provide food for people who need it. Probably just not to this level. This level has been insane.
So feeding the community, even when your facilities are slowing down, it's still a big goal of yours. And so it sounds like that's kind of one of your key takeaways here is taking care of your employees, taking care of your community. What are some other things that you're taking away from this experience?
Well, this experience has been kind of life shattering, I guess, for a lot of people, because of the 200 people that we had to furlough, 250 people probably. I've worked with almost all of them. And I think the saddest thing of all is when you're growing and vibrant and through no fault of anyone's. No one did anything wrong. No one caused this. There was no big quality incident that we messed up or anything like that. My folks were working hard every day, coming to work, producing record numbers of sales and, record year we were having. And to see their faces when we had to, furlough them was so devastating that it's just something I won't forget for a long time. It's one of the hard things as a CEO that you have to make those decisions sometimes to keep the future of the business in your mind while you're having to do some of these things is it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it's scary, and it is something that I know no one ever wants to deal with again. And hopefully we'll be in a place soon where we can start to get things a little bit back to normal, don't you think?
I do believe that. I do believe there's light actually coming. I keep hearing, the mayor here in Tulsa has started a task force. He asked me to be on it. And one of the goals is to try to figure out, how do we open back Tulsa? Let's go out and be safe and use our things that we've learned from the doctors and just be more careful. But one message that I would have too for you guys and for people who are listening to this is Bama's been on the forefront of health, and that's been going on for 10 years. I've been a huge proponent of health and wellness, and we have clinics to support that. We have classes to support that. We try to give you the best health coverage and the best guidance and the best knowledge so that you can be a healthy person. There's nothing to take the place of being a healthy person when there's some kind of viral activity in the space. Healthy people can fight this off, and some of them don't even know they have it. And it goes back to, how do you love yourself? How do you care for yourself? Do you eat right? Do you exercise? Do you get the proper amount of sleep? Do you take care of yourself mentally and physically? And that is something that I have pushed and pushed and pushed at Bama, to the point that people would say, damn, Paula, Big Brother's watching you. And I say, yes, Big Brother's watching you, because we are in this together. And if you die, a part of me dies. And I especially don't want you to die from something that you could have prevented. And so health, your own personal health, is a huge, huge factor in this coming world, and taking care of yourself and being able to fight off these horrible viruses.
That's incredible. I think that's a great message to share with everyone, and a great message to conclude on as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it too. Thank you guys for thinking of me.
Oh gosh, no, thank you for joining us. Also, for folks listening right now, we have several special episodes on the baking industry and the coronavirus. In fact, one of the other episodes we had is with Cyril Falat from Rabobank, and he actually concluded his podcast with the same message about health. And I think that it's just really interesting that both of you guys mentioned that completely independently of each other. And I think that it will be an opportunity for the baking industry moving forward too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we'll see how things shake out. Hopefully, what you said about health and wellness and everything does come to fruition.
And we invite everyone listening to go to baketothefuture.org to find more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe to Bake to the Future wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bake to the Future is brought to you by the American Bakers Association in partnership with Human Factor. To hear upcoming and past episodes, go to baketothefuture.org. Bake to the Future is produced by Haley Blumenreich. Audio engineer is Blake Alton. And A Slice of the Action is written by the American Bakers Association's Government Relations team.